In this tutorial, we're going to examine how to create a survey within Google Forms, which is a special type of Google document. In order to use Google Documents, you'll need a Google account. We recommend that you create a Gmail account first and use that as your Google account. If you don't know how to create a Gmail account, the link on the screen will take you to a tutorial which will show you how to do that. Once you've created your Gmail account and you're logged into Gmail, you can access your Google Docs by just clicking on Documents. And once we're here, we'll create New and Form. We'll give this form a title. We will call it, and we'll give some instructions. So our first question will be simply, and we'll give some instructions on how to put that in. And text format works just fine for that. Now, if we wanted to allow anonymous entries, we wouldn't make that a required question, but let's say in this case we want everyone to answer that. We'll click on Done. Now we're ready to start sample question number 2. And we can click on the Edit button. This one's going to be a different format. In this case, we're going to try drop-down text, so we're going to go choose from a list. And the question's going to be, and now we put our items for the list. We can just use the Tab key to go to the next field. And when we're done editing that, we can again say to make that a required question. There's our second. Now we come up here to Add Item. And our third one is going to be checkboxes. Checkboxes are used whenever we want to allow multiple answers. So our question in this case is going to be, and again we'll type a hint, and we simply start, and again the Tab key is the fastest way. To get from one to the next. Whoops, didn't need to type that in. We're going to go to Add Other here. I'm going to delete this one that I didn't need. We're going to check this, and they'll put their own answer in there. We again make that a required question and click on Done. So we have 3 questions. Now, with 3 questions, that may be enough for one screen full. It's kind of nice to break this up into chunks that people can manage on the screen without doing a lot of scrolling. So we're going to go to Add Item, and we're going to go for a page break. So there are our questions up above. And the page title, we'll just call this Page 2. We won't go with a description. Now we're going to add an item again. And this time, we're going to make it multiple choice. And the question's going to be, and again, we're going to add another field here that they can fill in themselves. We're going to make sure we don't get this interfering. Make it required. Check Done. Time to add yet another. Now you'll notice that each time here I'm using a different question type, and that's just simply so that in this tutorial we cover all of the question types possible. So our next one is going to be a rating scale. So we'll just choose scale, and our question will be, so our scales from 1 to 5. 1 will be again, make it required, click done. And we'll add another item. And this one will be a grid. Now a grid is useful for making multiple answers. And we're going to go only with 3 columns, not with the 5 that it defaults to. Our column labels are going to be often, occasionally, and seldom. And our question will be, and the reason for the dots is this is what we're going to do here. We're going to make this the completion of the settings. And when we've done that, we'll have 3 columns across the top saying often, occasionally, seldom. And down the side will be the questions: how often do you plan meetings, conduct surveys, or poll others? So it's a very quick way to do things like rating scales or check grids. And finally, we have one more question type that we're going to do. We're going to do this on the same page, and that will be paragraph text. Okay, and the question is, again, we'll make it required, and we'll click done. And at that point, we're going to save our form. Now, just a couple more things before I leave our form. First of all, it's very easy to rearrange items within Google Forms. So let's say that I decided that I wanted this form, or this question rather, to be below the one below it. So I just drag it, drop it down, and that question now is in a different place. The other thing, that with rating scales and certain types of questions, it's often easier to copy an existing question than to create a question from scratch. So to do that, all we do is click on the duplicate button here, and you'll notice that what we have now below that is a new rating scale question, and we can just change the question title. In this case, I'm not going to use that question, so I would just simply throw it away in the trash. So, having said that, once we're all done with our form, we're going to save it. And down here is the link for our form. We click on it. It takes us to our form. That allows us very easily to copy this address and send it to those people whom we want to complete the form. And that's the basics of creating the form. In the next tutorial, we're going to examine how to complete the form and how to examine the data that comes out of the form.